Welcome into the Atlanta basketball party, your home for the best Hawks talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere else but right here at Locked On. I am Tenitra Batiste, and alongside me are Jarvis Davis and Deshaun Tate. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. The Atlanta basketball party is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, guys, the Hawks are hoping to at least end their West Coast trip with a W against the Dubs. We'll talk about how the Hawks got to being 7 games under 500 and what they can do to climb back into contention in the East. And, of course, the latest on the rumor mill is always what's going down as you get closer to the trade deadline. So let's go. Let's get it in. We're going to start right out of the gate, Jarvis, talking about this because we know that the rumor mill has just picked up so much steam of late with Dejounte Murray. It seems like every 24 hours in the news cycle, we're hearing about a different team that he's attached to. So does it seem like to you Murray kind of knows he's got one foot out the door?
Yeah, like because when I go back to, and Deshaun, Tate and I even talked about this in our little group chat, like when he had those back-to-back game winners, it was just weird. Like guys were just celebrating, yeah, man, good job, Dejounte. And Dejounte was just like, just like, man, like it has to be wearing on him. Like when you look at him, because we understand the type of player that Dejounte is. Like indeed. I love the cat since day one. Like, but when you look at how things have been going and how they tried to figure this thing out, Nate couldn't figure it out, and then Quin looks like he can't figure it out either. It's just not, this combination with Trey Young and Dejounte Murray just not working. And you can see it in his play because he's not the same guy he was when he first came in as an Atlanta Hawk via trade from the San Antonio Spurs. He's just not.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you on that one as well. And what about you, Deshaun, when you watch his play, and not just his play, I think Jarvis makes a great point when you watch body language and when you watch actions, interactions, and reactions, it does kind of feel like the same, that Dejounte is like, hey, I see the writing on the wall. The writing is getting bigger and bigger. And okay, see, I'm about to be out of here.
Yeah, it does definitely feel like that. Whether that's what, of course, they're not necessarily going to admit it if that's what is going on. We all understand or overstand that rather. But it is that vibe. It is that energy. It feels a little bit awkward to a degree.
Yeah.
Like going back to the same conversation that, Jarvis is saying that we were having, as the team kind of corralled around him after he hit the game-winning shot against Miami. It was almost like a, hey man, you're so lucky to be free of this frustrating situation. I wish my contract. I wish my contract was up so I could be up out of here too. But that again, that's just what it felt like,
Yeah.
And so, and it looks like everybody was proud to see that happen because obviously, he had been hearing his name being brought up, and obviously he's been keeping it very professional and things like that. But it's been weird, nonetheless. And, we obviously hope that, he can still stick around as an Atlanta Hawk and we can see things work out. And because on what level of 1 to 10, what number would you guys give to say that, that he's been around long enough to see this thing work? Because that's instantly what the narrative is going to be at some point when there is no more Dejounte. Obviously, we're assuming sooner than later. It's going to be like, well, they didn't give it enough time. And there's going to be some people that feel like, well, they gave it more than enough time, and the pointing fingers and everything else happens from there. But it would be nice to see the leash be extended a little bit longer to see if it can work out. But if this is going to be the end result, then it's a no-brainer that you got to go ahead and part ways mutually.
I look at it from the standpoint of it's depending on where this team is headed, and I know we're probably going to talk about it a little bit later on, but just for me with the whole Dejounte Murray situation, I don't know about y'all, but I've been checking out some of these packages they've been talking about, especially with the Lakers. They're like D'Angelo Russell, a 29 first and another first round pick swap. That I don't what they gonna do with that? Yeah. What kind of compensation is that? I'm not saying that you should try to get 3 first round picks like you traded for them. That's not happening. That ship has sailed. But for me, it's just like, where do you want to go? What's the direction? And for me, I want to see him try to go ahead and just play it out for the rest of the season because at the end of the day, if that's the type of conversation that you're going to get in return, what's the point? Like, you might as well be tanking at this point.
Right. And I feel like that's where we kind of are. Like we're
Yeah.
at the point in place where it was painfully obvious. Like it's been the thing that we've known, it's been in the back of our heads. But I think in the last week or so, it's kind of come to the forefront where we're like, oh, we knew you didn't have any bargaining assets. We knew you didn't have much that you could bring to the table to barter with, but no, you really don't have much to bring to the table to barter with. And that's why you can't. And I think for me, Jarvis, the pain point, and which it could have ultimately been the pain point for you guys as well, but it was getting a notification on my phone that Pascal Siakam wasn't headed here. And I say it just the way I said it because he could have been headed to any of the other.
That package was weak, T.
I don't even
Weak.
care. Right. I'm like, I don't even care where he landed. That where he landed was not the point. The point for me was seeing that Pascal Siakam did not land here. And that had been a part of the rumor mill since last summer. So the fact that it never happened, the fact that you could never get a third, and sometimes in the NBA, it's even a fourth trade partner, but the fact that you could never get enough partners in place and enough pieces on the table to be able to get him here, that was so troubling. And going back to Deshaun's question about on a scale, kind of the 1 to 10, for me, it's a 10, because I feel like at this point, it should have worked. It should have worked.
Yeah.
I've said it before, Jarvis, but I'm going to repeat myself just for a second here. And that is, what other group do you know of that we're a season and a half in, you got 22 free frees in the regular season with Quin Snyder. Then you got a couple free frees in the postseason last year. Then you got the offseason. Now you have half a season. So if you put all of that together and we look at some of the success stories of melding players together and it working, this ain't it. This ain't it. And it's probably never going to be it, because the bottom line is the communication, conversation, and feedback that Quin Snyder has put out there, that Trey Young has put out there. And even I think I've heard Clint Capela mention it on occasion. That has not gone away. Guys, there are so many different angles when it comes to this trade talk. And it's not just about Dejounte Murray. We'll talk about it when we come back in the And One. Everybody's kind of looking to do better, right? And if you are looking to do better, Hungry Root might help you get there. This episode of the Atlanta Basketball Party is brought to you by Hungry Root. Now, it's 2 words, right? Hungry Root. Or is it 1 word? Doesn't matter, because all it matters is it's about eating a little healthier in 2024. They are here to rescue you from all of those short-lived resolutions by giving you a meal plan that's actually easy and quite nutritious. You can build healthy habits that won't just disappear by February. And we know we've all been there and done that. So whether you're braving the cold, thank God we're not doing that anymore. We got some good weather going on now, but we're still maybe dealing with crowds. Grocery shopping is maybe not on your list of to-dos because, hey, that traffic in Atlanta is real. Well, this is a great solution for that. Why not stay home and let Hungry Root handle it for you? It provides value in so many ways. You can save money. A lot of customers have done a comparison contrast and found that they save more by going to Hungry Root versus expensive takeouts or even restaurants. You reduce food waste up to 30% per week, and you save time because you don't have to stress out about grocery shopping. You don't have to stress out about meal planning. But to me, this is the big special discount of 40% off and free veggies for life. Are you kidding? Free? Tell me where to sign up. I will. Hungry Root is offering Locked On NBA channel listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. So that's you guys. Locked On NBA right here in Atlanta. Locked On Hawks, that's us. Just go to hungryroot.com/locked on to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. Again, that's hungryroot.com/locked on. Don't forget to use our link so they know we sent you. This episode of the Atlanta Basketball Party is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is always what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. And I'm going to tell you about my seat covers, because I always tell you I got them from eBay and they fit perfectly, and they really make my car look so much classier. Whether you're into speed, power, or like me, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. Over 122 million parts for your ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with their guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed as well to fit your ride every time, or money back. Because with eBay Motors, it's not about burning cash. It's about burning rubber. With all the parts you need, it's your MVP. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Again, that's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit more about this trade piece. Here's the thing that I thought about, Deshaun, too. We don't talk about this too much, but this can be wear and tear on a lot of individuals not named Dejounte. Everyone is pointing to him as the most likely piece for being traded because of what it'll bring to the table for the Hawks, knowing that right now they're 7 games under 500. But you got to wonder about Trae and all of this as well. I mean, could it be that he's exhausted? There have been rumors about him possibly being someone who wants out. Could this whole situation have put him in a mindset of, maybe it's time for me to think about moving on?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, but I can see how that could be a real play. We were just talking in the last segment about the vibe and the energy and the feel, right? Well, that same vibe, energy, and feel appears to be optically only, even if that's the case, that Trey Young is also a little unhappy here with the way that some things have transpired, the way that some things have gone. So, considering all of those things, I mean, listen, we can sit up here and talk about, this guy or that guy, Dejounte or Trey or whatever. I mean, I think that the verdict could even potentially be out on it not, somebody from the front office maybe not necessarily being excused from some of this as well. There just really seems to be a lot of turnover, even in the front office, even not sure who is leading the way with a lot of things being the decision makers as to whether it's Trey or Dejounte or whomever. Not, it kind of feels like the blind leading the blind. Is it Russell?
Yeah.
How much emphasis does Russell's wife have on it? Or how much emphasis does Russell's son have on it? Kyle Korver, Grant Hill, CEO, this one, that one, Trey Young. Who knows, from that standpoint. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility. I'm not sure that it's the smartest thing to get rid of probably your best piece or your most popular piece since number 21. However, I know one thing for a fact. If you're really that curious to find out if, what things look like, without him, then there's only one way to really go about finding that out, if in the event that he is truly the key denominator and behind why, so many different changes have been made, but yet still not getting closer to the ultimate goal.
And for me, man, like a lot of times Trey gets, I think he gets a bad rap. Some of it kind of deserves it, for the most part. But I think on the other side of it, we don't give him, I feel like as a fan base, as a objective, broadcaster talking about this team, covering this team for the past few years, the dude's trying this year.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to say that in the past couple, right? To be quite honest, from what I've seen, from what my eyeballs have seen on the basketball court, I really feel like this dude is really trying. He's trying to push the whole coach killer thing to the side. I really feel like I've never heard him give a coach so much credit and name him.
Right.
He's naming Quin Snyder. Quin is doing this thing. Yes, we just got to buy into what Quin is. He's rubber stamping Quin Snyder in his locker room, and it just feels so weird that they can't. It seems like the message is not getting through to the other guys too, right? Because from the whole, let's just talk defense, right? We understand what Trey Young, his limitations, and he understands that. Hey, given my limitations, given my size, and given what works well in the NBA, and those are wings, 6'7", 6'7", and 6'8" guys on the wing. Like that what works in the NBA. And he understands, hey, I gotta get in the passing lanes more. I gotta be able to get some tip balls, get me some steals, be effective. Like it's been done before. We've seen it, right? Steph Curry, taking charges. Like, come on, man. Like a max player taking charges. That's the emphasis. Like, come on. Like, so he's bought in. Quin is bought in. It's just the other guys that's not buying in. So I think right now, I'll get really frustrated if these guys aren't fully bought in, fully trying to do, because he's not necessarily from a vocal standpoint, but I know he's leading by example, if anything. So I think right now, if Trey is we hear the rumors about the Lakers being rumored, trying to come up with a package deal to try to get him to come over there.
Exactly.
Who am I to say he should consider that? He should knock that down because given the place where he is, no.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can
I
I?
think,
Can I?
well, I wanted to just chime in for a moment. I think that's why I threw that out there, because I think Jarvis made a couple of great points that I just wanted to circle back to real quick. And I think one of them is he is giving the effort. When I guested on our show, I call it like our second baby, Sports Extra over at 11 Alive. The question was, Quin Snyder was talking about defense and saying that he feels like the Hawks are playing better defense. And I was like, definition of better, or definition of good, or definition of great. And I said, now let me give you the caveat though. If the definition is effort and you were pointing to Trey Young, then I agree. Then I agree, because I know what my eyes and those stats are saying too. The stats are backing him up with his steals, right? And so that's where he can be most effective at the point. So I think that is one really great point that you make. And I think the other one is this. Sometimes we are so busy looking at Trae and Dejounte and what's not working, and kind of focusing the energy on Trae. But here are two things. Number one, it's okay if that didn't work. Why? Because sometimes people just don't communicate as well. That's why people get divorced, darn it. They think they're going to communicate well. They think it's going to be a good look, and it ain't. And so the best thing to do,
great analogy, T.
Exactly. The best thing to do is just, you go your way, I go mine. You get yourself a new wife, I'm gonna get myself a new husband, and we all keep pushing. Now, the other piece there is the disappointment has to be, I talk front court. I've been asking the question more recently, what about the front court? Because to your point, Jarvis, that's where most of your wing defense is supposed to come from. Give me some 3 and D at the 3 spot. Give me some 3 and D at the 4 spot. Now, Jalen Johnson gives it to him. But if I'm not talking Jalen Johnson, who the heck else am I talking about? So I just wanted to kind of co-sign on that piece as well. Like, no, it's a legitimate question to ask if maybe Trae is open to teams, the likes of the Lakers, considering taking him on, because you do have to look up and down that roster, Deshaun, because you cannot place blame with just number 11 and feel like he's the whole entire reason, or the lack of communication in the backcourt is the entire reason for being 7 games under 500.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the easy thing to do, especially when you have probably the most marketable guy, excuse me, or what have you, the quarterback of the team, and everything else is not the, maybe not the vocal or emotional leader or whatever, what have you, that is your most ideal. When you look up the definition, his name or face doesn't necessarily pop up. But can I just wake something up for just a quick second? Because the reality is that a lot of people outside of this market feel like the fan base a lot of times is very fair weather, right? And I think that there's plenty of examples of it being that, and I think that there's plenty of examples of it not being that, depending on what side of it you live on. But the consensus would agree that, some that are and some that aren't. Very transplant city, ... All of that being said, is I did take notice to something when all of this coach killer stuff was going around about Trae and all of these different things. I noticed that, some people, it seemed as if some people were starting to have a change of heart about Trey Young. Now, granted, we definitely seen a development from last year into this year. So maybe there's some things, obviously, that, he kind of took on the ownership and things like that within himself about it. Sure. But that is something that could potentially leave a very bad taste in the mouth of a person who could potentially feel like, hey, do y'all remember what it was like before I got here for all of these years, with the exception being that they obviously went to the Eastern Conference Finals prior to that. But with that exception, like, I think that they know that they need him. I think he knows that they need him, and that he is the biggest thing in this town. As far as from a basketball standpoint, you can go into the Albies and all these other people, but I think that some of those things carry weight. Now, as far as the front court, I mean, you didn't get anything for John Collins, so that definitely hurts the front court, especially when you start talking about stretch fours and not guys that can't necessarily shoot the basketball. And then you've got a guy who you moved up in the draft. Let's not forget DeAndre Hunter, technically a front court player. You moved up to go get him at number 4, and he's yet in 5 years to play 67 games. Yeah. So there's a lot of different elements to this and a lot of different, layers to the onion. I just want to wake those things up, because there's sometimes things that we tend to forget about.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely consider, I don't care what people say, that's front court to me, because at the end of the day, you small forward, you still a forward. So therefore, you're supposed to be defending as a pseudo big, and you should be able to do anything, anywhere that they put you. And let's just face it, we're not getting that. But Jarvis, I know you wanted to say something before we wrap up.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, can I throw Clint Capela's name in there too, as far as not being able to because he just doesn't have it anymore. Can we come to that conclusion? Just I mean, I
Hold that
know.
thought though, because I want you to weigh in on that one. Oh my goodness. And I don't want to cut you off. So no, guys, you need to hang around because Jarvis has something to say. I'm gonna tee my boy up and I'm gonna tee my boy Tate up because he's got something. You're on to something when you're talking about the impact of a different kind of big man. You guys want to hear about it? Catch us on the other side. We're going to continue this combo and around the metro. This episode of our Atlanta basketball party is also brought to you by FanDuel. Now, you know, the NFL regular season has wrapped up, but you know what's coming through, and it is conference championship weekend. So there's still time for you to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And let's face it, you may need a coat, maybe, or a jacket or something if this weather goes back to how it's acting in Atlanta, or you may need to get some last minute Valentine's Day gifts. This could give you some extra bucks for it. This app is also pretty user friendly, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays, finding bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. That's also the best way to find popular parlays. So get into it. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make your first bet a layup. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to take advantage of those same game parlays, bets in the new Explorer tab, and making a parlay in the hub. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. All right, Jarvis, you know, I got excited when you started talking big man. So I got to tee this one up for you guys. And I'm just going to fall back because when I thought about this, I said, I cannot wait for these two to talk about it. Joel Embiid, of course, finished with 70 points a couple nights ago in the Sixers win over the Spurs. Then Karl-Anthony Towns, it was a losing effort, but he still finished with 62 in the Wolves game against the Hornets. First time, multiple 60-point games in the NBA since 78. And you talk about, and not just the scoring guys, but really they had a nice stat line overall. And when you think about that, Jarvis, it goes back to the question and the point that you were making about Clint Capela. When you've got big men scoring like this and you've got stat lines like you're getting out of them, does it give you more that mindset that says, hey, don't forget, you got a front court to fix too, Hawks, and it starts at the 5.
Aging one. And I think when you look at just from and I'm not even asking him to even give you 20 points a game, or
right.
It's just that the thing that made Clint Capela an asset when he first came to the Hawks, he doesn't have it anymore. Yeah. Like just from the help defense, because he was the defense. Yep. Let's keep it funky. He was the defense. When they went on the run, when they were able to, make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was one of the reasons why, because he was just that guy, right? Whatever Trae insufficiencies in defense at that time, like he was able to make up for it, and he just can't do it anymore. And it's nothing against him. It's nothing personal. That's just what it is, because at the end of the day, your talent level goes down. And for him to be still being inserted into the starting lineup, that should not be the case. I mean, I don't know who's able to. I know Quin is able to have that conversation. Obviously, he just doesn't want to at this point for some strange reason. Maybe because he doesn't have somebody. I mean, I know how you feel about Onyeka, but
you already knew I was going to say, wait a minute, he's got a little something.
But it's a reason why I trust Quin Snyder's acumen as a head coach, a head basketball coach in the NBA. And if he can't be forced to put him on the bench, by a rising talent, that just says about the depth in your roster.
Right, because right now, Jarvis, it seems like he's averaging, Onyeka Okongwu, seems like he's averaging around 27 to 30 minutes whenever he's being inserted into the lineup off the bench. We know he started a couple of times, but again, I haven't seen enough in him in his starts, Deshaun, to say that Quin should be confident to bring him in at the 5. And you already have Jalen Johnson, your strong 4. So if he's coming in, he's going to have to come in at the 5. But when you see guys like, and I know different, positions, if you will, but still bigs in front court nonetheless, when you see what guys like Joel Embiid are able to do, or Karl-Anthony Towns, and just the fluidity that they play at both ends of the court with, you look at that and you say, hey, everybody, you need to stop parking at the backcourt saying those are the woes. No, you got to look at the front court because really 3, 4, and 5. Well, I'm going to say 3 and 5 because 4 is just fine. But when you look at 3 and 5, you're just not getting it from them the way that some of these other teams are. I'm going to call it Deshaun. They have the Renaissance big man who's able to really just do it all.
I'm gonna say this, and I couldn't agree with you guys more to a degree. So Tenitra knows that one of my favorite terms to use when describing this team is consistently inconsistent. So while that is in very many cases, Clint Capela, right? That is also Onyeka Okongwu.
No
I
question.
also have hesitations and reservations about inserting him into the starting lineup because it looks great on some games when I'm looking at 17 and 11 or 15 and 13 or whatever. But I know that not far away is a 7-point and 6 rebound game.
And 5
personal fouls
in the first half.
Exactly. And so, with that being said, though, I will give Clint some credit that for many years he has been, especially because of John Collins' inconsistencies on the defensive end, he has been relied upon a lot. And adding the fact that Trey Young's defense had been just that bad, there wasn't no Dejounte Murray to help out on the defensive side for these years. So a lot of people was just kind of, it's okay. We got Clint back there to clean it up. And he was left back there for a lot of years for that. Now, because things are changing, obviously, and the game is evolving and developing into a different wave, this is clearly just not cutting it. I think that there's still use for him on any and every team just because of his mindset. He is on the receiving end of a ton of lobs that Trey Young has thrown up that used to be having John Collins' name written on them. Now it seems as if that it's all Jalen Johnson and Clint Capela. But how much does it take to run and jump when all the attention is on number 11?
True.
So, there is a lot of, different, ways that you can definitely look at this. But for a guy that you can't necessarily play in clutch moments, especially, God forbid, that you're down and you need a shot and Trey Young is actually going to pass the ball to somebody else to where it can maybe throw the defense off a little bit and they're doubling on Trey or whatever, to have that guy be able to step out and extend to that 3-point line, I think can, be threatening to the other team, can be something that is useful and good. If not nothing else, I see Capela as a very good backup guy.
Yeah.
But you haven't done anything to even make the bench any better. It's certainly, lacking some depth.
Right. And I want to ask you guys one more question before we go. We know we've got 2 weeks to the trade deadline, so we might revisit this question again next week. But real quick, Jarvis, you look at the fact that we have all of these theories and postulations out there about what's going to happen at the trade deadline. But is there a situation that would be the most shocking move that the Hawks could make for you or not make ahead of the trade deadline?
If they trade Dejounte, I'll be shocked, to be honest with you. I mean, I know we talked about, it looking like he knows he's out the door, 1 foot out the door or whatever, but it just seems like because they gave up so much in the previous regime, allegedly, pushed that through with Travis Lake, but we all know that's not true. We know who did that and everything, and they still here. So yeah, I would still be shocked though if I saw Dejounte Murray get traded. It'd be kind of sad, to be honest.
How about you, Deshaun? What would be the most shocking move or shocking move not made ahead of the trade deadline?
I think it would be shocking to see Trey being moved. Just because when he's been to your franchise for all these years and you finally get that player and then it's going to feel like Dominique Wilkins happening all over again. But outside of that fact, I'm not sure that I trust this franchise to make a smart decision because they haven't really given me a reason in past years to make me feel like they're going to make a smart decision. I would be surprised to see them, load up the bench a little bit more with some talent that I think could potentially fit. I'd definitely like to see Dejounte come back with Trey at least to finish out the year.
Yeah, and I'd be shocked if they actually make a move that can dig them out of this hole. I hope they do, but I'd be really shocked if they could make a move that would make that happen. Listen, we appreciate you guys, as always, for stopping by the Atlanta Basketball Party, your home for the best Hawks talk. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're free and available wherever you download your podcasts. We'll see you on the Atlanta Sports Party tomorrow.